behave themselves then when they knew all this time that there was bugs in their rising system and it was their fault, and you know they finally admitted it, but I don't know, it boggles belief.
Fujitsu has apologised and says it will make a contribution to compensation for the victims based on the findings of an inquiry into this book. The Commons Treasury Committee has also said that Fujitsu has been awarded contracts worth more than £3.4 billion with Treasury-linked organisations since 2019. The Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron, has said he is deeply concerned about Israeli plans to launch a military offensive in the southern city of Rafah, where more than 1 million displaced Palestinians are sheltering. He has again called for an immediate pause in the fighting to allow aid into the territory. Israel says Rafah is the last remaining stronghold for Hamas fighters. Ahmed Najjar has family in Rafah. He says they don't know how they will stay safe.
They don't know where to go. They have nowhere to go. I spoke to my sister yesterday who was in Rafah. She said to me, well, there's nowhere we can go to. We literally reached the last point of Gaza, Rafah, which is bordering Egypt. And we don't know where else we could go if Israel decides to attack Rafah.
The Housing Secretary, Michael Gove, will announce measures this week to make it easier to convert office blocks and department stores in England into new homes. He is also set to offer incentives to companies to build on previously developed or brownfield land, which he said would allow tens of thousands of new homes to be built. The government has yet to meet its target of building 300,000 new homes a year. The Child Maintenance Service is going to be given new powers to crack down on parents who refuse to financially support their children in England and Wales. Ministers claim enforcement times are going to be cut from 6 months to 6 weeks. Hundreds of volunteers in Trinidad and Tobago have joined government efforts to clean up a huge oil spill caused by a ship that overturned after hitting a coral reef. Specialist divers have been trying to isolate the leak from the vessel. The oil has affected 10 miles of the Atlantic coastline, damaging pristine beaches and reaching a protected mangrove swamp. The King has released a statement thanking everyone who sent him messages of support since he revealed he has cancer. He said all those who had been affected by the disease knew that such kind thoughts were the greatest comfort and encouragement. King Charles has withdrawn from public duties to undergo regular treatment. The royal commentator, Hugo Vickers, says the statement was exactly what he would expect to hear from the King.
He's also thanked all the people who've worked in that industry, helping people with cancer, and saying that, you know, his personal experience has highlighted something which he's known about all his life. So it's a very generous statement, and of course very much in tune with his wish to be transparent and to keep us informed about what's going on.
Now, Simon King is back with today's weather.
Vigialis, thank you so much indeed. Yes, we've got some pretty wet weather around this morning, especially around the eastern areas of England. There are still numerous flood warnings in force, so this extra rainfall isn't going to be particularly good news, but things should improve as the day goes on. For southwest and southeast England, it's showers that we've got this morning. Some of those are on the heavy side, especially to the southwest. And as we go through into the afternoon, they will tend to ease away those showers, except perhaps the southeast of England, where we could see one or two continuing into the afternoon. But there'll be some sunny spells developing, and temperatures will get to about 9 to 11 degrees. For Wales, the Midlands and northwest England, some dense fog patches around this morning. Really do take care if you are travelling. Those are going to clear kind of later on this morning, say 9-10 o'clock, and then there'll be some sunny spells developing. A few showers in across Wales around about lunchtime, and those will clear to the east a bit later on. Maximum temperatures about 7 to 10 Celsius. For eastern and northeast England, again we've got some misty and murky conditions, but also some pretty wet weather this morning. That rain is going to gradually clear away to the northeast. There'll be some sunny spells developing later, temperatures of 7 to 10 Celsius. And for Northern Ireland and across Scotland today, we've got some fog in central and southern Scotland, again really quite dense in places. Now we'll see some rain moving its way into eastern Scotland, and that's going to be pretty slow to clear, especially so towards the far northeast and the Northern Isles. There'll be some sunny spells developing around western Scotland and Northern Ireland, and temperatures of 4 to 8 Celsius.
Simon, thanks very much indeed. Now, for our first look at the Sunday papers, and many of the front pages carry photos of a smiling King Charles, showing his gratitude to the nation for the support he's received after his cancer diagnosis. My heartfelt thanks to you is the headline of the Sunday Mirror. But the Mail on Sunday reports that books already for sale online about the King's health, which are purportedly written by real authors, are actually created by artificial intelligence. The paper says they contain false claims. It quotes a statement from Buckingham Palace, which says that the accounts are intrusive and insensitive, and its lawyers are looking into the issue. The Sunday Telegraph says judges have raised concerns that some church leaders are being duped by insincere asylum seekers converting to Christianity to avoid being deported. It refers to one case of a leader at a church in Wiltshire who was found by an immigration judge to have been duped by an Iranian migrant. The Telegraph also carries an article by the former Archbishop of Canterbury, Lord Carey, who criticises the Church of England's opposition to plans to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. He writes that the Church's hierarchy seems to be denying that there is a problem with migration at all. It's a situation, he says, which is changing the lives and communities of the poorest in society, and he urges bishops to do much more to listen to them. Criminals using courts' chaos to evade justice is the headline of The Independent. The paper says it's been told that criminals are pleading not guilty and relying on what it describes as crippling trial delays to manipulate the system. It's obtained figures which it says suggest that the number of cases waiting more than 3 years for a verdict has skyrocketed at least 7-fold since 2019, and the proportion of early guilty pleas has fallen by nearly half in 4 years. A Ministry of Justice spokesperson disputed the figures, saying there have been a raft of measures allowing those to run at full throttle. The front page of the Sunday Times carries a warning from the Housing Secretary, Michael Gove, that his party must urgently appeal to younger people or risk them turning their backs on capitalism and democracy. Mr. Gove says housing and the fact that young people struggle to get on the corporate ladder is a key issue. The paper quotes him as saying that a failure to address the housing crisis will make the deal shut out. And the Sunday Express reveals that the biggest gripe about people who work in offices is colleagues who just won't stop talking. Nearly 1 in 4 of those surveyed said that constant babbling was the bane of their lives, closely followed by the office internet going down and giving up people's mobile phone text message lines. Sport now, and England beat Wales to make it 2 wins out of 2 in Rugby Union's Six Nations Championship yesterday. With more of that and the rest of the sports news, here's Colin Harrison.
Good morning. Yes, England overturned a 9-point half-time deficit to beat Wales 16-14 at Twickenham, with George Ford sealing the victory with a penalty 9 minutes from time. Here's the England head coach, Steve Borthwaite.
Ford, I still felt that this game was a tie game. With most results in the second half, we felt we'd find a way to win. I think the players should be proud of themselves today. I'm sure they are after staying in the Bible, maybe.
France beat Scotland by 20 points to 16 at Murrayfield, where the Scots had a late try ruled out by the television match official. With the clock in the red, referee Nick Berry ruled that Sam Skinner hadn't got the ball down. And TMO Brian McLeish went with the on-field decision eventually. The Scotland head coach, Gregor Townsend, wasn't impressed.
We were celebrating the box. We could hear the TMO's conversation with the referee. Ball is on foot, then it goes to ground. Ball's on foot, goes to ground. And then he changes his mind and says, stick with your on-field decision. So, I don't know what you can say.
Today in the Six Nations, Ireland play Italy in Dublin. There's live coverage on Radio 5 Sports Extra and BBC Sounds from 2:30 this afternoon. Liverpool remain 2 points clear of Manchester City at the top of the Premier League after wins for both teams yesterday. Liverpool beat Burnley at Anfield with Diego Jota, Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez scoring their goals in a 3-1 victory. Earlier, Erling Haaland scored both goals for Manchester City as they beat Everton 6-0. Newcastle, Fulham, Brentford and Sheffield United. In the Scottish Cup, Rangers, Hibernian, Aberdeen, Kilmarnock and Livingston were all safely through the quarter-finals position, although Livingston needed extra time to see off Partick Thistle, winning 3-2. Holders Celtic will hope to join them all in the last day today when they visit St Mirren. Hearts are away to Airdrieonians. Tottenham and Leicester are the first teams through to the quarter-finals of the Women's FA Cup, and there are 6 more ties today, the pick of which is Arsenal against Manchester City, and that's live on BBC Two and iPlayer from 12:15. And much later tonight, it's Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. Kansas City Chiefs face San Francisco 49ers, with the Chiefs looking to become the first back-to-back winners since the New England Patriots 19 years ago.
Colin Harrison. Finally, a glance back at some of the stories that were making news on this date in earlier years. In 2016, scientists announced a discovery that could transform our understanding of the universe. They detected gravitational waves, or faint ripples, in the fabric of space-time, caused by the collision of 2 black holes more than 1 billion light-years from Earth. In 1990, Nelson Mandela was freed from prison in South Africa after 27 years of captivity. People danced in the streets, and thousands clamored to see him at a rally in Cape Town, where he delivered a speech.
I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for.
A woman was consecrated a bishop for the first time in 1989. The Reverend Barbara Harris, a divorcee and member of the American Episcopalian Church, was appointed suffragan bishop of Massachusetts. The figure skater John Curry won Britain's first Olympic gold in the sport at the Winter Games at Innsbruck in 1976. Margaret Thatcher was elected as Conservative leader on this day in 1975, easily beating her 4 male rivals. In a BBC interview, she was asked if she thought being a woman would be a help or a hindrance in her new job.
If anything, it's been a help in the ballot, and it's given one a clear distinction from one's colleagues. I find, particularly from the letters I've had, that a tremendous number of people are rather thrilled at the prospect.
The Soviet spies Guy Burgess and Donald Maclean surfaced in Moscow on this day in 1956. The former British diplomats had disappeared 5 years earlier. And in 1891, the first Crufts Dog Show was held at the Royal Agricultural Hall in London. And that completes today's news briefing. Now on BBC Radio 4, it's time for Bells on Sunday, which comes from the Church of St Mary's in Bridgewater in Somerset. The present church dates primarily from the 14th and 15th centuries and is notable for its Gothic architecture, unusually tall 53 metre spire. In 2020, Taylors of Loughborough augmented the previous one with 8 bells to 12, with a tenor in 2500 rate tuned to the note of D. Now here are the ringings of Lucy Surprise Nature. Those are the bells of St Mary's, Bridgewater, Somerset. Now I'm ready for its profile with Mark Coles.
I love Northern Ireland.
A politician this week.
Despite our often troubled history and divisions of the past, I know that we have incredible potential.
Unlike Little Bengali, the top dog in the DUP, Northern Ireland's socially conservative Democratic Unionist Party. The party of no surrender, of no-nonsense leaders like the Reverend Ian Paisley, Peter Robinson and Arlene Foster in the past. Little Bengali, by comparison, younger, more with it, come from a different cloth. nice big pink choice of jackets is anything to go by.
She probably would cry for Berkeley and Tundra. She was much more progressive and some beautiful, but she's also very dogmatic. You do my cross, Emma?
There's a perception of her very different to who she actually is when you get to know her.
She's got brains to burn, she's a very bright person.
Social media savvy too. Scroll through her accounts and in between the emojis and pictures of her pet puppy, you'll find poetry, photos of orange Judah marches set to rap music.
I'm red, waiting blue till the day I die. Lost my flag, Union Jack, throw it up in the sky.
Some of us, Belfast rapper Young Spencer's in-your-face remix of an Eiffel 65 1990s dance classic. This week, with power sharing in Northern Ireland restored after a 2-year hiatus, Emma Little Gelly has girl bossed it, as millennials used to say, and got herself a top job, Deputy First Minister. On equal footing with the First Minister, Sinn Féin's Michelle O'Neill, but following the Irish Nationalist Party's success in the 2022 election, the first time the DUP has taken the deputy designation. With profile Michelle O'Neill before, learned how she likes to lift weights and down gravy sandwiches. I'm still married on BBC Sounds, I'm told. But for us this week, it's time to focus on Emma Little Gelly and see what surprises she has up her sleeve. She was born New Year's Eve 1979, when Fortune grew up among a marine retail worker, Lan Noel was a civil servant. Raised in a rural town close to the border with the Republic of Ireland, she told an audience at McGill's summer school a few years back.
I grew up in Market Hill in South Armagh, just a few miles from the border, and a particularly bad area, in a small Protestant town. And it was challenging.
Back in the 1980s, towns like hers were at the forefront of the Troubles. Car bombs, landmines, shootings in pubs and churches. Loyalist and Republican paramilitaries carrying out horrific tit-for-tat revenge killings, an endless cycle of violence and conflict, which escalated further after the British government tried to stop the violence, signed the Anglo-Irish Agreement in 1985, giving the Republic of Ireland political influence in the north. Many Protestants angry, and his father Noel among them, according to former BBC Northern Ireland political editor Mark Davenport.
Her dad, Noel Little, in the mid-1980s, was known as a very active loyalist and unionist, someone who was associated with Ulster Resistance, a shadowy paramilitary group.
In 1987, with police intelligence, the group discussing ways of smuggling weapons into Northern Ireland.
The Ulster Resistance was looking around to acquire arms for what it saw as a kind of doomsday scenario if Northern Ireland was sold out by a future British government.
It would land Little in trouble.
Noel Little was arrested in Paris together with 2 other men from Northern Ireland, both loyalists, a South African diplomat and an American arms dealer, and they were found to be in possession of a dummy blowpipe missile, and the allegation was that they were basically talking to the South Africans about transferring missile technology to South Africa in return for the supply of arms the other way.
Given a 3-year suspended sentence and fined by the French authorities, Noel Little was always denied being a gun runner.
He wasn't found, with a cache of actual weaponry, although there's absolutely no doubt that Ulster Resistance in general did bring weapons into Northern Ireland.
Former DUP First Minister Peter Robinson.
I knew Noel very well. A more unassuming person it would be hard to find, but someone who was passionately loyal, and it was very difficult for her and the family when he was arrested.
Held in a French jail, the father was absent for a couple of years. After he was released, the family was struggling to make ends meet. No money for treats and luxuries, says a close friend, Eva Wilson.
I'm actually Polish, but I spent many years living and working in London Island on the Irish peace process.
Eva has got to know Little Gelly well, spoken at length about her upbringing.
Growing up in a working class area, she heard a high school van coming to her estate, but unfortunately at the time they were not able to afford anything. and she sat on the stairs and she made a promise to herself that she will get educated.
Decided, age 11, after her home was damaged in a bomb attack, she was going to be a barrister.
She was actually the first person in her family to go to university.
Queen's University Belfast, to be precise, where she joined the DUP and got heavily involved in student politics. Tough and loyalist in what was a majority Catholic institution in the late 1990s. Ian Paisley Jr., now DUP Member of Parliament for Northampton, recalls seeing her in action.
If you wanted to put your head above the parapet of student politics and declare yourself as a unionist, you were very much in the minority. She was very successful because she became elected as the deputy president of the union.
Qualifying as a barrister in 2003, later going to work as a special advisor, a SPAD for Ian's dad, the Reverend Ian Paisley, a DUP leader and Northern Ireland First Minister.
She was a grafter. I knew that everything was given to her grants, other than special advisors room for Frankie Wingate.
After Paisley stood down in 2008, she stayed in her role, working for a successor, Peter Robinson.
She was always the kind of person that you could rely on to get the facts right.
She started to make a name for herself, began to ruffle a few feathers too, these records.
She had the four criteria that Concourse presented. Clever, young, pretty, female. Well, that's a start for anybody to overcome in politics.
It was around this time that Eva Grossman first met her.
She was a little bit intimidating. She had a reputation of being quite loud, but my perception of her changed very much since I managed to see beyond the person's harshness. She actually invited me to Market Hill during the marching season, and seeing her family, how much pride they take, their sense of belonging and identity, I had to challenge my own prejudice about the marching bands and the loyalist community.
In 2014, Little Red Northern Ireland civil servant Richard Pengelly. A big cheese, explains Mark Devereux.
He's currently permanent secretary who heads our Justice Department for the Civil Service.
Legislative Assembly for South Belfast. Ian Paisley Jr. initially taken aback.
I was certainly surprised. She'd always talked to she was like working in the background, but I think she was propelled then into it. And she got the bug.
The move meant a £44,000 pay cut. But when she was offered and accepted a severance payment for going from SPAD to MLA, she came in for heavy criticism. Sam McBride, Northern Ireland editor of the Belfast Telegraph and Sunday Independent, covered the story at the time.
That really rankled with a lot of the public because she wasn't losing her job in the conventional sense. She was going from one publicly funded post to another. All of that was perfectly legal. It was all above board, but that's something which I think to this day some people hold against her.
You know, it's difficult to go for a drink with Emma in Belfast because, you know, straight away she's spotted it on a number of occasions, people would pass, not stick comment and so on.
And that's unfair, thinks her friend Eva Grossman.
Quite often I feel frustrated. Emma is really misunderstood.
She gets regular online abuse, as breaks from social media in the past, and when it all gets too much, she wants to escape.
Emma loves outdoors. She was hiking away from people, away from the pressures. There is a childlike spirit in her. She loves cold water swimming.
Is she a good swimmer?
Not as good as I am.
Well, she's made a splash in politics, held lots of different roles over the past 8 years. She's found herself struggling against the tide at times and out of favour with voters. Sam McBride.
She has flitted around an awful lot. She's been in Stormont as an MLA, she's been in Stormont as a junior minister, she's then lost her seat in Stormont, she's then been an MP at Westminster, she's then lost her seat at Westminster. So there's been a lot of movement there.
Tell me about it. When Arlene Foster was forced out as DUP leader, replaced by Edwin Boots in 2021, Little Bengali, then Foster's special advisor, walked too.
She said, look, I'm out of this. I'm going to go to the jungle. I'm going to help look after animals in a sanctuary.
Not a metaphor. She really was going to do it. Started fundraising for the trip. Writing music too.
We actually went to La Supreme, and again Emma felt free. So we had lots of fun. We went to see Grace Jones.
Me too. Small world. Long black limousines pulled up to a bottom of the baby. Not sure the DUP's founding fathers would have approved. Then, just as it looked like Little Bengali might be heading for the end of the road, another twist in our political fortunes.
Historic win. Sinn Féin become the largest party in the Northern Ireland Assembly for the first time.
After Sinn Féin won the 2022 Northern Ireland Assembly election, DUP leader Geoffrey Donaldson didn't take up his seat, co-opting and appointing Little Bengali to fill it while he remained a Westminster MP. However, the Stormont Assembly not functioning because of the DUP's opposition to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Then, suddenly, at the end of January, a deal was struck to allow power sharing to restart. The surprise of not an elected MLA, Little Bengali picked by the party to be Deputy First Minister in the hastily reconvened devolved government. The Belfast Telegraph's Sam McBride again.
The fact that Emma Little Bengali is not elected is one of her greatest weaknesses right now. It doesn't feel quite right, it doesn't feel quite democratic, absolutely within the rules, but in terms of the politics of this, it's an odd situation to be in.
And so we have two women in their 40s, Emma Little Bengali and Sinn Féin's Michelle O'Neill, sharing the top jobs at Stormont. The choice of Little Bengali, an astute move on the part of the DUP, thinks its MP Ian Paisley Jr.
I can imagine the headlines that would have been written if there was a steel, pale male up in front of a young, energetic female from Sinn Féin. People wouldn't no doubt would have drawn that comparison, and there's no doubt about it. She is a capable, competent woman in politics.
Eva Grossman is optimistic.
I think there is a good chemistry between her and Michelle. I actually spent some time with Michelle and Emma in Washington last year, and the rapport is there, and I think they both want to make Northern Ireland work for people like themselves.
Journalist Sam McBride, not so sure.
If you look at the photos, if you look at the smiles, it looks amazing. Every time Stormont comes back, it's been like this. And every time it's come back, it's ended up either in collapse or in very poor government.
Emma Little Bengali addressing the new Northern Ireland Assembly this week together with Michelle O'Neill, adamant that wasn't allowed to happen this time.
The experience of my childhood gave me the drive and desire to make a different future, not just for myself, but to do all that I could and can to ensure a better future for all of us.
Presented by Mark Coles, and the producer this week was Ellie House. Now let's hear about some major business.
Hello, my Frank Cox. I'm Robin Inks, and this is the Infinite Monkey Cage trailer for our brand new series about mummies, magic, asteroids, poisons, and most importantly, cats versus dogs.
The science show that likes to laugh.
I do find cat faces incredibly attractive. That sounds weird as well.
We've got a lot of people who haven't been on the show before, actually. We've got John Bishop.
Not every sentence is going to sound as scientific as it is.
Hugh Dennis.
Lucy Porter.
Deborah Meaden.
He licks my eyelid.
We're where we started, really. The Infinite Monkey Cage.
On Saturday nights at 7:15.
On Radio 4 and BBC Sounds.
BBC News at 6 o'clock on Sunday, the 11th of February. This is Richie Ives. Good morning. BBC News can reveal that bosses at the technology company Fujitsu were paid more than £1 million a year on average while overseeing the Horizon contract, which led to the post office scandal. Analysis at Fujitsu UK's accounts show that one director was paid more than £2.5 million in 2019 That's the year hundreds of sub-postmasters won their case against the post office after being wrongly prosecuted when the faulty IT system showed money was missing from branch accounts. Our business correspondent Ben King reports.
Fujitsu's UK arm doesn't publish exactly what each director is paid, just a figure for the total earnings of the highest paid director. At most companies, that would be the chief executive. David Courtley was chief executive of Fujitsu UK in 2008, the year the highest paid director earned £2.3 million. Duncan Tate was UK chief executive in 2019, when the highest paid director earned £2.5 million. David Courtley declined to comment. Duncan Tate has said he was sorry for the damage done and any role Fujitsu played. Fujitsu has apologised and says it will make a contribution to compensation.
A Commons committee has also said that Fujitsu has been awarded contracts worth more than £3.4 billion with Treasury-linked organisations since 2019. The Commons Treasury Committee said around £1.4 billion worth of those deals were awarded after the High Court ruled that there had been numerous errors in Fujitsu's Horizon software. The firm has stopped bidding for government work while an inquiry into the scandal takes place. The Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron, has said he is deeply concerned about Israeli plans to launch a military offensive in the southern city of Rafah, where more than 1 million displaced Palestinians are sheltering. He is again called for an immediate humanitarian pause in fighting. Israel says Rafah is the last remaining stronghold for Hamas fighters. From Jerusalem, our correspondent Barbara Petasha reports.
Israel's announcement that it planned to invade Rafah set off panic in the city and warnings from its allies. Lord Cameron said he was deeply concerned because more than half of Gaza's population is sheltering there.